All right, so we're back and it's week 2. Oklahoma, I'm not going to say they have a big game this week, but they're playing a football game and Houston's rolling into town, a Big 12 conference member now. So SEC, Big 12 matchup, man, that feels so good to say. Oklahoma is on the good side of this. Jay, how are you doing today?
Hey, we're a couple days away from football. I just need us to go ahead and get this over with. I'm ready to play this game. I'm ready to go rewatch the game. I'm ready to react so that we could really prepare for Tulane.
Okay, be honest with me. Do these first 3 games of the season just feel like preseason NFL games to you? You're just
That's
like, you want to watch it, but it's hard to get excited for it?
that's exactly what they are. Look, Bill Belichick in his heyday at New England basically took the month of September as preseason games for his squad. That's them gelling, figuring things out, and then from there, for us, that's kind of the thing. It's similar setup, right? Because for us going into this, it's new offensive line, new quarterback, and we're just filling things out. And I'm totally here for the fill out portion of it, and that's what we're gonna see going up until we actually get to conference play. We lucked out with 3 teams that two of them that were blah, the third one that's new coach, some new, some same players, some new. So we got it. We got a pretty good stretch going up until we get to Tennessee, where the competition really kicks in.
Yeah, so talking about testing things out, last week was hard for a lot of Oklahoma fans. 378 total yards on offense. We all know Oklahoma is going to be testing things out against Houston. Jackson Arnold, I don't know if you got to watch the interview he did with Paul Feinbaum, talking about how the offensive playbook was going to be opened up a little bit more this week. What are your expectations in terms of what the offense is going to do being experimental? Because you lost Farouk, so they're going to have to give more wide receivers like a Petaway or a Kearney or a Ragens opportunity, and it's going to maybe at times not be sexy. So what's your take there?
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I expect under 400 yards in this game as well. Here's the deal, and this is something that fans are not gonna like to hear. There was one complaint that a lot of you fans, including myself, had last year. You know what that was, PG? Game management and pace. We were moving too fast nonstop. So now they're going to slow it down. They're going to take their time and they're going to place themselves in situations where they're burning more clock. You know what that means? Less possessions, less opportunity for touchdowns. So you're going to get a couple of explosive plays. They're going to let Jackson Arnold go deep on a few plays, and we're probably going to burn them, get a 60-yard touchdown maybe here, maybe a 75-yard touchdown there, maybe a run for 50 or 60 yards. We may get 2 or 3 of those. But for the most part, they're purposely going to go slow in this game. Y'all are not going to like it. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to get over yourself just like I'm going to have to get over myself. That's my expectation. Under 400 yards in this game. I think we take our time.
So you want to hear the craziest part about the time of possession take? I felt like last year Oklahoma was very similar in terms of time of possession to what they did last week, where they were pretty well dead even with Temple. I feel like if you're going to try to have this pace, control time of possession, you need to win time of possession by like 5 or more minutes. Not
Not really.
2 or 3 minutes. I want to see like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes more of that possession time over your opponent. I don't want you to be pretty even with Temple.
Yeah, you're not going to get that because you got to remember what happened in that game. And Venables pointed this out, why the third downs weren't converted as much. And even though in a lot of those situations, it was more on the wide receivers' decision making than it was actually what was going on in the game, right? We got the ball on short yardage, like under 50 in majority of the game. Like we only had like 4 possessions that started over like 20, that had 70 plus yards because our defense did work. Now, in this game, if we just force a bunch of punts, then sure. But I don't expect us to only get punts. I expect us to get turnovers, and I expect us to get turnovers early in possessions. And by getting turnovers early in possessions, guess what? You're going to have short yardage. So in that case, you'll play more defense than you will offense, or to be really close and even. Now, let's put it this way, PG. If instead of us getting those interceptions or the forced fumbles that they were punted instead, our time of possession will probably have been 5 to 10 minutes more than what Temple had. Why? Because we would have had a field to go down. And of course, since the whole goal here was to test out things mid-range, they weren't trying to go deep because they knew they could. Every time you go deep, it's going to take less time for you to score, and you're going to score. We complained about the way that Lebby had his pace going. Latrell does it opposite. He does pace when you need to, and he slows it down and and taps the brake when he needs to. Why do you need to accelerate against a team like Temple when you know you're going to beat them by 50 points? Or at least close to the spread, which was 42 at the time. They knew that. They saw it. They understood it from jump. And it's like that first possession, they were like, shoot, yeah. We just go hit them on corner routes. It's a done deal. We'll outrun them every single time. So they played the scripted game. Now, like I said, most of y'all ain't going to want to hear that. Totally understand your frustration. I'm frustrated too. I would like to see some of the high tempo scores and real quick big plays. They don't see a reason to do that. Run the clock, take our time, grind them all the way down. Let's put it this way. Michigan was 69th in college football last year in total offense, averaging 382 yards a game. What does that mean? They took their time. They did not go for a lot of big splash plays unless the running back broke out for a touchdown. That's kind of what you may see. I don't think we're going to be like Michigan where we're just running down your throat nonstop, but I do see us taking our time this entire game.
Yeah, now talking about running, because I think I had a lot of people in my comments, not sure if you had a lot of people in your comments, talking about how they felt like the run game wasn't there for Oklahoma. And the thing that I've really tried to stress to everybody is don't overreact to week one and your running game kind of only having 200 and 20 yards or something like that last week. Don't underreact. Like, here's the deal. I feel like once Jackson Arnold is given the green light to start getting more targets to Deion Burks, to Andrell Anthony, and Nick Anderson when he comes back, once that passing game opens up, the running game is going to open up a lot more. I think you have enough chemistry on the offensive line to allow the running backs to understand where their holes are going to be. You just now need those guys that have that chemistry to be all on the line together, which I think they will be by Tennessee. I feel like some of those starters you're going to see be held out now until Tennessee. They're going to let them get healthy, and then they're going to roll them all back out there together. So as far as the running game, are you concerned at all? Or, do you think we're going to see anything new there? Because we didn't see Caleb Hicks last week.
I don't know if we're going to see much Hicks. Like, to me, the run game, the big thing is there were holes. We just didn't hit them, right? Like, Salchuk was a little bit more hesitant, but Salchuk only got 5 carries. Can't do anything about that, right? You don't need to run your best players. Put it this way. They run him and he gets hurt, fans are going to complain. They don't run him much. He gets solid yards, but he doesn't run him much, fans are going to complain. So, what are we doing here, right? People are going to complain no matter what, right, PG? It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I think the expectation with Latrell and the staff is they're going to want to drive down as much as possible. They're going to play a lot of running backs. I actually expect to see more Hicks in this game, just to test things out and see who's the one that's going to take, how the depth chart's going to look. We saw Sam Franklin, his 4 carries were double-digit yard average. We saw that from Tatum, double-digit yard average. And honestly, I expect to see more Tatum as well. I, if anything, I can expect us to see less Salchuk, more Barnes, more Hicks, more Franklin, and more Tatum in this round. And then going against Tulane, you bring Salchuk, you go Barnes, and whoever the other 2 behind them are the ones you stick to in preparation for Tennessee.
Now, you mentioned Barnes and Tatum. I kind of posed this question. What are the odds that Tatum takes the role of running back 2 on this team? Because not saying Barnes isn't good. I thought Barnes looked really good last week. Definitely looks better than he did last season. I feel like Tatum's going to be hard to keep off the field.
No, I can totally understand that vision or whatnot. Barnes was considered the best back in camp. Barnes is not going to lose that number 2 spot unless he physically can't do it. The way it sounds is the depth chart's going to be Sawchuk, Barnes, and you're going to bring Tatum in on 2 back sets, which we saw. We saw some 21 and 22 personnel, which got a lot of people excited. So if we see 21 or even 12, it's going to be a mixture of having Tatum and Barnes out there, just depending. I think it's gonna be Tatum and Barnes are probably gonna be the 2 that goes into that set anyway. When you're running a 2-back set, I'm assuming that's how it's gonna be. It's gonna be Barnes and Tatum together. So I don't think that he takes that from him. I think that's what gets Tatum on the field more, is putting him in 2-back sets.
Okay. Now I want to shift gears a little bit because we're not going to talk about the offensive line just yet. I'm not ready to cover that with y'all, but I want to talk about the wide receiver core. So you've lost Jaden Gibson. We presume J.J. Hester and Ivan Carrion are both going to kind of take over that role for Gibson. But I look at Farouk. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. I would imagine he's probably going to be out a little bit longer just because even when he does come back, he's not going to be, I feel like, in full strength because he hasn't going to have played in a while. And he's going to be coming in against really good competition. You probably have to ease him back in. I was looking at wide receivers this week that could replace Farouk. Guys that you really need to see take a step up. I think Petaway has to be your number 1, but I look at some other guys in that room and I say, I really want to see a Zion Kearney or Ragens or even a KJ Daniels. What is your take here? Who do you think in that wide receiver room needs to step up to take over for Farouk? Because J.J. Hester is already having to fill those shoes with Jaden Gibson.
J.J. Hester. That's the one that needs to step up. I don't expect any freshman to step up. I'll never make a freshman or say a freshman has to step up. They're a freshman, right? The big thing is understanding the route tree and having the skill set to be able to run those plays, right? For most of them, they're still learning the playbook fully and building chemistry with Jackson Arnold. Hester is the one that's done a lot of that. He's done that in practice. He was one of the standouts. He needs to step up. He's the one that's going to be the most important. Besides that, Petaway's probably the next one on the list. And I think Petaway, for him, the good thing for Petaway is that when we get in the 4 wide receiver sets, he'll be out there with a Deion Burks. If we decide that we want to go with a fast set, you can have Burks move to the outside, have Petaway go into the slot with a Brennan Thompson out there, and boom, you got 3 wide receivers that can blaze. And then at that point, if the defense is smart, they're putting themselves in like a cover 4 or some quarters. They're stepping back and giving space because they know these dudes catch it, they're gone. There's no way of catching them. So for me, it's going to be between J.J. Hester and Petaway that's going to have to step up, make some catches, and make the magic happen.
All right, it's that simple. Got to talk about the offensive line, though, because that was the biggest topic for Sooner Nation last week. I went back and watched it. I don't feel like it was as bad as people think. You look at
say that people are not going to agree with you there.
You know what? I told you I wasn't going to say some of this, and I'm going to end up saying some of it, guys. I think the offensive line is fine, and I think when we get into the SEC play, Spencer Brown is going to look a lot better. And Jay, you talked about it in the green room. He plays too high, right? So against some of those smaller dudes, he got beat. It didn't look good. Same thing for Tarquin. Now, does that mean Spencer Brown is a starter in SEC play? Probably not, because Jake Taylor in fall camp in the summer, like that dude solidified himself. People are excited about both Jakes being at the tackle spots. I want to see a starting lineup of Taylor, Waywu, Hickman, Ozida, and Sexton. And I want your 2 deep to look something along the lines of Brown, Tarquin, either Gary and Hatchett or EPL, maybe even Troy Everett at the guard spots. But I also want Hatchett, Everett, and Joshua Bates to be able to play backup center. And then I think that's a pretty good 2 deep for your offensive line. So, Jay,
I'm in that same boat.
What do you want to see?
I'm in that same boat. Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I'm in that same boat of that 2 deep. I would like to see that. I guess the center spot's going to be the most important, right? We're not going to see Troy Everett probably for another couple of weeks. BV says that he's very close. Same thing like Nick Anderson. They're both sooner than later. No pun intended on that. But I don't expect either one of them. I don't expect to see Everett until closer to 10. We may see him in Tulane. I'm wondering if Jake Taylor actually plays in this game. You may want to give him a few snaps just to, get his feet wet, let him, get his footwork going. I don't expect to see Hickman. So, yeah, I kind of want Bates to play a full game, see how he's doing. You can rotate in like a Josh Isosa right behind him as your backup center. I think he's healthy enough to be able to do it. You want Hatchett to get a little bit more healthy while at the same time keep the man at guard. Or you may actually end up going Bates and Hatchett as your center. That may have to be the way you have to run it because they're the ones with the best chemistry with your quarterback. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see how he rotated. For me, I want to see the guards. I want to see what the guard play looks like, right? Waywu was okay in the game. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. He was okay. He did what he needed to do. But I think that he needs to get a little bit more mean. Same thing with Logan Howland. I need to see more force out of him. Just go out there and knock somebody on their butt on a regular basis. Just take somebody out. I do want to see EPL on a pull. I'm trying to see him on some GT counter and or just a inside zone or something. Just let him go across and just level the next dude. That would be fun. But the 2D, until we're more healthy, it's kind of hard to be able to even predict what that is because, they're not going to be able to give us all the information we need on who's going to play and who's not. But I do want to see Heath out there. I want to see him out there at guard. I want to see Heath as well as EPL playing more left guard. I think that's, if anything, that's the two I really want to see the most.
Yeah, EPL looked really good last week when he got his opportunity. I had some people in the live yesterday asking about Isaiah Autry. Do you think he gets any run this week? Because I think a lot of people are excited about him.
I know Beatonbow wants him to play. Got to be healthy to play, though.
So on the offensive line, what are you looking for this week? I think for myself, I want to see Joshua Bates at center. Reason being, he's supposedly been the most hyped up guy, like the number one center in that class. Like, it just seems like Bill Beatonbow hasn't had the trust. I know last week he was a little bit banged up. I want to see Joshua Bates on the field playing center for Oklahoma. And then I know Spencer Brown is going to come back into this game at some point. I want to see Spencer Brown play a little bit better against, quite frankly, what should be better competition than Temple.
Yeah, I think that I think Spencer Brown will be fine long term as depth. You're gonna need the big body, the ability, and the strength. I know he's strong enough; he can do it. He's just got to get better at his footwork, right? I do want to see Bates, and I know that he was banged up throughout fall camp, right? BV praised him for his strength, but he was still banged up, so he didn't really play much in fall camp. Better in spring than he was fall. But now that he's a little bit more healthy and he's ready to go, I do want to see more Bates play. I want to see EPL and Heath at the guard spot. I want to see more of them. I want to see more Sexton at tackle, just so I can evaluate if he's ready to be that full time now, if he's at the healthy point where he can do that full time. So it's going to be fun to see how the calls go. And hopefully we're at the point where things, just work out the way they need to.
Yeah, and you're going to see more Heath Ozida at left guard after how he performed last week. I think you're going to start seeing him there a little bit more, which I think will help putting Sexton at left tackle. I think you're going to see this offensive line start to gel starting this week. Then at this point, it's going to be starting to be plug and play with Hickman and Taylor, which if you're an Oklahoma fan, that's got to be, I guess, a little bit. I'm trying to think of the word. It's got to provide you some reassurance there. So,
right.
But Jay, I want to switch gears real quick to the defensive side of the ball here. So I talked about this yesterday in my live, and defensively, I want to see Oklahoma hold Houston to 10 or less points. And my thought process here is the over-under for this game is 52.5, and the spread is Oklahoma by 27.5. So they're giving Houston 25 points, which to me is mind-blowing because Houston's offense ain't very good. Like, they ain't good at all. So
yeah,
I figure if this defense can go out here and hold them to 10 or less points, the offense can get you to that 52.5 number, or 52 or 53 points. You can hit the over. I think the national narrative for this team, should change. But we were talking in the green room, and you said, well, it's Houston. So kind of give me a thought process on what you think about this defense.
I mean, defense is good. We've already proven it, right? Under 200 yards given to an opponent. First time we've done that since 2017 against Kansas. We did it twice that season. We did it to Kansas. We beat them 62-3, and then we beat UTEP, and we gave up under 200 yards in both those games. Now, granted, the Arkansas State game, we gave up 208, so it was close, but it's been forever since no matter who the opposing team is that we would, if it's a FBS or if it's any FBS, if it's G5 or P5, we're not allowing less than 200 yards. That's just not how this team has been constructed. But we've gotten better to the point now we're doing that. So to me, what I want to see, I want to see this defense keep doing that. It's Houston, but if we go out there and we allow Houston to only have 200 yards of offense total, and do that 2 games in a row, I think at that point teams are going to recognize, okay, we probably should keep our eyes open at this Oklahoma team, that they're probably a little bit better than we anticipated, because Houston got like 200 and 47 yards against UNLV. And we know our defense is way better than theirs. If we go out there and we shut them down to under 200 yards, like I say, for the second game in a row, you're going to hear people say, okay, this team's probably going to be legit.
So I asked this question yesterday in the chat, and I think the average came out to about 3 turnovers. How many turnovers does the defense create this Saturday, and how many are fumbles, and how many are interceptions?
I'd say 4. I say 2 and 2. I think that the way that they're hitting, because they're hitting so hard, that they're going to be able to cause a couple more fumbles like they did last time. Because that's the funny thing about the Temple game is you didn't see them try to strip the ball from anybody. Nope. They just hit them, and the ball popped right out.
They didn't strip. I think there's a difference between stripping and punching the ball out, because
that's the way of they were hitting, right? Like, I get where you're going with that, but the one thing to think about is that usually when you're punching the ball is because you're going at it with a punch. They were just hitting people when their fists were closed. That's a big difference. We weren't in there trying to hit the ball away from them. We were just hitting people and the ball was flying out. Much different. Like the Ethan Downs tackle that was a fumble when the quarterback was scrambling. He came across like this to wrap, but he had the punch indicate his hand in a fist to knock the ball out. There wasn't a situation where we were trying to strip. Wasn't a situation where we were punching while they were running. We were hitting people. And those punches are what was getting us the fumble. That's the difference I think I recognized in that game, which was pretty big.
Well, and I will say this. I think that was probably the biggest thing, though, that I saw and I could take away last week is all 4 fumbles that the defense got were all earned. They were not the running back fell on the ground and the ball popped out, right? There was none of those. None of those luck fumbles. They earned every single one of those. So if they go out there and they get 4 turnovers this week, you're looking pretty good on the turnover margin, which if you're an Oklahoma fan, that's what BV defenses look for. Now, I was listening to Teddy and Gabe, and they were talking about sacks. And I think this is something interesting to talk about because Oklahoma's record in sacks is 9. They've done it 4 times. Gabe was calling for 10 sacks this week. How many sacks does the defense get? Because I feel like Houston is probably going to play a little bit of max protect here and try to keep Oklahoma out of the backfield. But I feel like the defensive line is so good, they're going to probably overcome a lot of that.
Yeah. I don't think we get more than 6. I think we get about just like we did against Temple. I know that Houston's offensive line is technically considered worse than what Temple's was putting on the field. I don't think we get more than 6. I think that the scheme is going to be for Houston is to get rid of the ball as fast as possible. It's going to be high throw, right? You may be doing a whole bunch of short passes, quick screens, anything to help get past the blitz. But I know we'll probably be ready for that. So I think we'll get like 15 tackles for loss in the game. I think we compensate. We overcompensate on that. So for the sacks that we should have, we end up getting tackles for loss instead.
No, I'm right there with you because last week I think we had 6 sacks, but we only had 9 tackles for loss,
which was good. That's not only that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. We're probably going to have 6 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. That's probably a really good number. So, looking at the game, I think Oklahoma is probably gonna win this game around 50. I'm gonna give Houston a touchdown. They're a Power 4 school. They should be able to score. I'm gonna give them 55-7. Where you got Oklahoma at in this game?
I got us 49-0.
49-0. You calling the donut?
Yeah, I don't think we allow them to score.
All right.
Unless it's like something stupid that happens, double tip pass that gets intercepted and returned for a touchdown. Something dumb. I think this defense's goal in this game is to do the opposite of what they did with Temple when they allow a score. They're not going to give up. They don't want to give up a field goal at all. They want them to not score anything in this game.
If Jackson Arnold's not going to be getting 400 pass yards a game until Tennessee, I need him to not throw a single interception, or
I don't think he will.
Batted ball for an interception until Tennessee. Like I don't need the national media to start dogging on Jackson Arnold because he threw an interception to Houston.
It's always about the type of interception you throw, right? It's never, because Houston's defense is not awful. That's the thing. It's not awful, especially the secondary. The big thing is, how do you keep them from, how do you make sure that you don't, throw, like I said, bad passes or whatnot? I don't think Jackson Arnold throws bad passes. I think the only thing happens is the luck of something getting tipped or whatnot. I can totally see him going out there and having another flawless game. I mean, if he throws a deep interception because he was trying to go for a guy deep and our guy just for some reason doesn't hit the stride like he should, I'm not mad about those type of interceptions. And I mean, he got a lot of practice in the last game going across the middle, so he'll have good pace there. But I don't expect us to lose. I don't think he turns the ball over in this game like that.
Now, I mean, you just said Houston's secondary is good. If Jackson Arnold sees number one on the field, and for those of you who don't know who number one is, that is Latrell McCutcheon. I believe it's Junior, right? Junior?
Yeah. Now, I didn't say their defense was good. I just said the defense wasn't bad.
Does Jackson Arnold I'm sure he's heard the noise with the McCutcheon family. When he sees number one on the field, does he target him a little bit more?
No. He has no reason to do that. Like, that's kind of silly, in my personal opinion. You weren't on the team at the time when that whole thing went down. Just that whole staff's gone too. So you don't.
I think I listen. McCutcheon's dad's got to have witness protection this week, right? If he shows up to Norman.
No, not at all. Because he wasn't wrong.
All right.
Did you not see the defensive staff at
that
time?
I did, but then he turned around and followed that same defensive staff out to USC. So,
hey, is what it is. Live, you learn, you get loves. That's why he's in Houston now.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, if you're an Oklahoma fan and you have DirecTV, you need to find another place to watch the game this week because you ain't going to be able to watch the game. So, but the good news is if you have DirecTV, you can watch USC because USC just struck a deal with DirecTV to put them on their field. So, yeah, go to Chalk, go to Buffalo Wild Wings, just go somewhere to watch the game so that you can support the Sooners. Jay, where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, you can find me here on YouTube at Unfair Sports and wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. Thanks a bunch, PG.
All right. Appreciate you coming on.